Hello friends, let's start Moral Thinker session. See, if you look at the the question paper, uh, I always say that there are four category of questions broadly. Category in the sense the way UPSC frames question, the kind of design. I'm not trying to predict anything. So one question you will find which is little bit of abstract and open-ended. So these type of questions, abstract and open-ended questions, are largely framed from three areas: human interface, or you can say human values, particularly you can say human values and essence of ethics, largely. And then the third is moral thinkers. So in nutshell, you can say the first three units, that is human and ethics and human interface, human values, and moral thinkers are the areas from where UPSC frames open-ended questions broadly. So now the question is how to approach it. There are three ways to approach moral thinkers, philosophers. Number one, you make a list of, you can say, Western philosophers, Indian philosophers and thinkers, and the leaders. And then one by one, you start from Socrates and to, you can say, right from there to, you can say, the Kautilya, to Buddha, to uh, you can say Gandhi, to John Rawls, to Mandela, everything you have to list and then you can go through it. Another approach is basically to take the sectoral approach, in the sense you pick certain areas. For example, humanity. For example, politics. For example, you can say women, gender, etc. For example, Carol Gilligan is a very famous name when you talk about, you can say, the gender specific talk and contribution. So environment, etc. And this is education, and this is how you can easily categorize. For example, Confucius talks about the relationship. Adam Smith talks about economy. Karl Marx talk about the you can say the individual in this economic world or the production world, etc. So this is the second you can say method, and third is overall you can say why we need to study philosophy itself. So this is a question, and through this question we need to understand the essence of their teaching, and then within that essence of the teaching we can embed various thinkers various thinkers. Because if you do remember from the very first session, I always say that whatever you try to look it in the framework, because in the framework you can arrange everything, and it becomes quite easier to arrange everything. Otherwise, what happens, that things are unorganized. How many thinkers you will read? How many philosophers you will read? If you have the capacity to read 100, 200, it's good, and I wish you all the best. That's always better. But it's equally important that what is your recall? Because until unless things are very much in the frame, your recall cannot be high. And for this examination, for many examination, everything is a recall, because everything you have to write in 6, 7, 8 minutes. So high recall is required, and that's why I always say that please try to start developing a mindset where you see everything as framework. Framework simply means how you can organize a broader structure, and then within this broader structure, how you can embed and put so many things, where things are more organized, structured, and easy to recall. This is why I'm using this word framework. So here also, let's start with the one question, the first question itself. When we say teachings of the moral thinkers, philosophers, etc., does philosophy have the answers to the problems of today? Because of the first question itself that comes to the mind, why do we need to study philosophy? The question is, why do we need to study philosophical thinkers, leaders? Why at all? What purpose it serves? What purpose it serves? Does that it has some contemporary relevance? If it has some contemporary relevance, then what are those contemporary relevance? And that's why I've raised the first question. And this first question is very simple: does philosophy have the answer to the problem of today? Fine. So when we say that, then one thing we need to understand here, that certainly you cannot say that yes, you cannot say that all the ready-made solutions are here in the philosophy. No, but the first and very foremost thing about the philosophy is that philosophy seeks to understand the question very important. Philosophy seeks to understand the questions or the problems at the first place. At the first place. So basically, it helps to inquire, it helps to understand the problem per se. The first thing first. The first thing first. Uh, and for that example, if you look at many problems, whether it is, you can say, the climate change or anything else, philosophy basically helps to understand the problem. For example, in the case of Savita Halaparwar, you can say a very unfortunate case in the Ireland when Savita Halaparwar lost her life because the law of the land does not allow to you can say go for the abortion. Though doctor and she both knew that she is not going to survive, and this is what happened. Doctors failed to perform the abortion because of the one reason that law of the land does not permit, does not allow abortion. And she unfortunately died. But the same society went for the referendum. Same society went for the referendum. Why? Because that this introspection, this inquiry, this you can say ability to see something in the context of the life itself becomes very important. And this is the philosophy which gives the insight to the same society to think about just one question, that how a law can allow a mother to die. How a law can allow a mother to die. And so the same society decides to go for the referendum. The referendum. So uh, basically, what you can say that certainly you can say UPSC, sorry, philosophy, and that too in the context of the UPSC talks about to understand certain problems, certain solution, their relevance, applications of the various, you can say, the teachings of the various thinkers, philosophers, etc. So, philosophy certainly does not have any ready-made answer. But number one, it helps to understand the problem per se. Number two, also it gives you the direction, in which direction we should think or we should search for the solution. Let's take the example of, you can say, climatic change itself. Now, 1952, the first Earth Summit held, and from there till 2023, if you look at in these 50 years, you will find there are so many initiatives taken at international level, national level, and a lot of things has been done. But as far as carbon footprint is concerned, it's increasing. It's increasing. The reason is probably what we are doing. We are trying to find the solution more in terms of the technology. In terms of the technology, uh, science has its own limitation. Science cannot solve every problem. This is what philosophy says. So when you talk about philosophy, philosophy helps you to understand the problem very well. And also it gives you the direction, that in which direction you should move so that you can get the possible and effective solutions. And here is the solution. Because until unless we see climatic change as a moral crisis, probably we will not find solution what is called the sustainable solution. Sustainable development will remain utopian concept. It will exist, but it will not come into the daily life practice until unless we live with the philosophy of this. Philosophy of this. Similarly, case with the politics. Politics. Now, across the world, you will find that politics is almost synonymous with one and only one thing, and that is election, and that to remain in the power. Remain in the power. Fine. And so, when you talk about the politics, politics must be a tool to serve the larger interest of the society. This is what the basic philosophy is. But if you talk about the corruption, you talk about the hate speech, if you talk about criminalization of politics, you talk many things in and around the politics, in and around the politics, right from Plato to Aristotle to Machiavelli to anything. Fine. And you will find that if politics loses its essence, then it is not going to serve the larger purpose for what it exists. It exists. Take the example how philosophy works in the politics. Take the two examples, Machiavelli and Kautilya. Right? Both are realist. Both are the champion of the statecraft. Chanakya was the first, you can say, he was the philosopher, thinker, teacher, economist, and he was also, you can say, the first thinker philosopher who used, or you can say, who mentioned the importance of wealth or wealth creation for the state. Why a state should involve in the wealth creation. What is the importance of it? Because he was of the opinion that until unless you are a economic might, you cannot be the you can say a superpower, or you cannot be a powerful state, or you cannot manage your territory. And for that, you can say it's very important to have the economic might. Similar sort of thing, you can say, Machiavelli also talked. But what is the difference? The difference is one, and what is the very important difference? That Kautilya always emphasized on the character, on the morality. Here comes the role of the philosophy. Here comes the role of the philosophy. So if you look at, you can say, Kautilya's teaching, it emphasizes on the character for civil servants, character for ministers, character for king. Because Kautilya emphasizes that if character is gone, everything is gone. Character is gone, everything is gone. So the point which I'm trying to, and this is very much valid in today's world. You look at how some, you can say, one of the most powerful states president is involved. And what to talk about MPs and MLAs? They are now and then they are involved and they are exposed. But the question is, what is its implication? So philosophy helps to understand the problem, how to see the problem, the first thing first. And then when you try to inquire about the solution, in which direction you should go. So certainly you can say philosophy can answer and not solution. The difference between the answer and solution, that philosophy can give you the direction. It cannot give you the ready-made solution sort of thing. The way we try to find through the technology, the way we try to find through science. So this is point number one. You can say. So the second point, when it comes to the moral thinkers and philosophers, what to take from the moral thinkers and philosophers, the second most important aspect is utilizing philosophy to overcome life's challenges. This is something very important that you will find in the nature of the questions. So most of the questions, if you look at in UPSC, they frame in and around the application of any idea, that what purpose it serves. So whether from you can say the Gandhi to Jyotiba Phule to, there are so many thinkers, philosophers, leaders, they have used to frame questions. Probably they want to understand one and only one thing, that how do you understand the application, the essence and the importance of these teachings. So you can understand their importance of the teaching in the context of utilizing philosophy to overcome life's challenges. See, right from Steve Jobs to Muhammad Ali to the various, you can say, prominent, eminent names continuously says one thing about the life, that life is a continuous battle. Life is a continuous battle. So, what does it mean by this battle? What does it mean by this battle? This battle simply means that whenever you have aspirations, dreams, you will find the constraints. You will find the constraints. So there is a constant fight between the aspirations and this constraint. Always, it keeps on going. Why these constraints? Because these constraints can be inside you, these constraints can be outside you. So philosophy helps you to understand that how do you see these constraints? When the constraints lies within you, then how to see what to do about it. And when constraints are outside your control, then what to do? Then what to do? How to navigate? How to deal with it? Uh, let's you can say take the example of you can say uh, Mandela after coming out of jail when he became the head of the state. Uh, in many media, it was reported now the blacks are in power, and there is a fear that they may go for the revenge. But he constituted one Truth and Reconciliation Commission, under the chairmanship of Desmond Tutu, whose entire, you can say, the mandate or the term of reference was to ensure justice. And just see one and only, you can say, the quality of the leadership and the philosophy of the life of Mandela, that his various decisions, including the very, very important this Truth and Reconciliation Commission, through which he takes a country out of the cycle of the revenge. He takes a country out of the cycle of the revenge. Revenge. This is how philosophy solves, you can say, overcome life's challenges. There are several examples, you can say. You can talk about Gandhi, you can talk about Mandela, you can talk about, you can say, the contemporary bureaucrats like Aruna Rai, who quits the job and went to participate in a very local movement. Ultimately, this movement became a very, very, you can say, large and important, which turns into the RTI Act. Ultimately, this movement gets the RTI Act because of uh, their philosophy of the life, what they are committed for, what drives them, what drives them. So why philosophy? Because you will have to understand, because it's basically about this only, overcoming life's challenges. Take the example of Socrates. Take the example of Socrates. Before Socrates, if you look at the philosophy was more confined and concerned about the universe, cosmology, what this world is made up of, what this universe is all about. So it was more in and around, you can say, the metaphysics. But Socrates was the first one who started talking about, you can say, the philosophy in the human realm. And this is how ethics bonds. Ethics came to the light. Because everything Socrates wanted to discuss within the human realm, that what this world or universe is made up of, we'll see later. So, across the main concern, what makes life more meaningful, purposeful, happy, quality of the life, etc. And this is why he brings philosophy in the realm of the or in the human realm. So that some very valid inquiry can be raised. A very important inquiry can be raised. The reason is very simple when we ask this question, utilizing philosophy to overcome life's challenges. Because if you don't know how to live, how then can you solve life's problem when it sows? When it sows. Today, we have created a world which is towards, I can say, it's not completely, but towards certainly towards creating a virtual world. problem of isolation, loneliness is already there. Though it is confined in you can say more urbanized, busy life, etc. But it's there now. It's there. You cannot deny of the fact. You cannot deny of the fact. Now, how philosophy sees this problem? See, one thinker, philosopher, very contemporary of the Socrates, Confucius. Confucius. Uh, he was so powerful. His ideas were so powerful that it became the almost philosophy of the China. China. His philosophy, his teachings became the whole philosophy of the state. It was so powerful. It was so powerful. He talked about the governance or many things, but he is known for one very important aspect. That time he talked about the relations. That what is the importance of the relationship, etiquette, etc. to navigate through the various challenges of the lives. Just think of it that when probably there was no globalization, no industry, nothing, even then he understood it very well and he put it very straight that relationships are like the shock observer. It gives more meaning to the life. It gives more meaning to the life. You look at these days, if you go to any bookshop, you will find that series of books are there, are there. And these series of books are related to the self-help. दुनिया भर की किताबें तुम्हें मिलेगी सेल्फ हेल्प की किताब दुकानों पे आजकल पूरी भरी हुई है. किसी भी किताब अच्छी किताब दुकान पे जाओ तुम्हें सेल्फ हेल्प की इतनी किताबें मिलेंगी यू कैन नॉट इमेजिन. रॉबिन शर्मा की 5 AM क्लब एटसेट्रा. अरे साहब तुम्हारे माँ बाप भी तो बोलते थे सुबह उठ जाओ तो तुम्हें समझ में नहीं आई. अभी रॉबिन शर्मा का किताब 300 रुपये में खरीदोगे तब तुम्हें समझ में आएगी. बट डू यू नो what? That most of the books are taking the essence of this self-help from one and only one place, and that is called stoicism. जाके स्टोइक्स की कोई भी किताब पढ़ो तुम्हें समझ में आ जाएगा कि हाउ यू कैन से दिस द आइडिया ऑफ सेल्फ हेल्प वर्क्स. Immediately after the time of the Socrates, these Stoics talks about anger, fear, anxiety, aspirations, etc., etc. And it's so much valid, so much important, so much you can say relevant to the existence that it's valid today even after thousand years. And most of the self-help books, these you can say the motivational speakers take the you can say cue from there and then they give the lecture. So my point is not to talk about that, but basically that when it says utilizing philosophy to overcome the life's challenges, yes, because why? The reason is a philosophy of life is an overall vision or attitude towards life. A philosophy of life, the question is how do we see it? We see it because a philosophy of life is an overall vision or attitude towards life and the purpose of it. Philosophy then help you to build principle in fighting these life's adversaries, because this is what it is. Philosophy helps you to fight these adversaries. Because the first thing first, what philosophy does? Philosophy asks a question that what are your values? What are values? With the same, you can say, in the same bureaucracy, same system, there are certain bureaucrats who does some exceptional good job. Let's talk about the TN Session. Recently, his biography is also published. Anytime, if you have time, just go through it. TN Session. One person who give more meaning to the one institution that is called Election Commission. Before that, after that, there are many, you can say, civil servants became the election commissioner. But then why TN Session is so important? for the democracy like India, and to the world also, and to the people also. Civil servants like Amarjit Singh, who worked relentlessly and one of the, you can say, fantastic work in the Gujarat. A person who talked about the maternal mortality and tried to get the solution. Until unless you touched by certain problem and you have certain values, you will not take decisions. Simple as anything. And this is what they expect from you to understand it. Because in UPSC's question, you will always find they try to test you in one and only one context, that how do you use these informations, teachings to solve the larger purpose. What, why at all we need to read these thinkers, philosophers, etc.? What purpose it serves? And that's why I raised the first question, very important question, that does philosophy have the answer to this problem? If it is not, then it's of no use, because nobody is interested. Otherwise also nobody is interested. At least you are interested because questions are framed. You have to write answer. So you have to look into it. Uh, when it comes to you can say utilizing philosophy to overcome life's challenges, another very important aspect, that value, attitude, etc., brings clarity. Clarity in understanding the problem, clarity in decision making, clarity in decision making. Now, the another important aspect when we talk about the moral teachings of the moral thinker, philosopher, etc. Uh, so, very important aspect in the teachings of the moral thinkers is philosophy is the foundation of critical thinking. Philosophy is the foundation of critical thinking, because philosophy brings the important question to the table and works towards an answer. To work towards an answer. So, right from Socrates till John Rawls, if you look at, you will find that most of the philosophers try to bring, you can say, some important question of that time on the table. The very contemporary, whether it is Nietzsche, whether it is Marx, anyone, whether it is Weber, you talk about this, talk about that. Right? So they always raises concern, try to find out the solution. Whether it is agreement, disagreement doesn't you can say matter. For example, if you look at Karl Marx talked about the alienation, that how this specialization in the production, specialization in the whole you can say the manufacturing, etc., demands very specialized kind of skills, job, etc., and then how it is creating alienation. But Adam Smith sees that this is how value can be created. This is how economic growth can be economic growth is possible. Now, to the same problem, to the same you can say issue, there are two different thinkers views differently. So it brings possibilities, it brings alternatives, it brings perspective on the table, on the table. And that's why it says that philosophy is the foundation of the critical thinking. Critical thinking. Also, you need to understand that science cannot answer every question. Science cannot, science cannot answer every question. It cannot. Certainly it cannot. Certainly it cannot. Now, you look at the world we are living in. Now, comfortably, you can say that now a journey towards AI is started, already started. Fine. It's no more a Star War kind of thing where everything is in the, or Thanos, where everything is in the Hollywood. No, it's now real. Though it's at a very nascent stage, where you can say that this stage you can easily termed as the artificial narrow intelligence, where this machine's IQ level is very, very, you can say, weak and small, very low, very low. But certainly it is growing, it will grow. And then the next level will be termed as artificial general intelligence. And then the next level is artificial super intelligence. Now the question is here that why at all we need ethics? Why the world is talking about ethics and AI? If AI is so powerful, and you can say there is a very famous book of James Barat, and that is the name of the book is Our Final Invention. Our Final Invention. So in the final invention, James Barat says that whatever we have to do as a human being, we have already done. हम लोगों को जो करना था हम लोगों ने कर दिया. अब AI करेगा. अब AI करेगा. क्यों? क्योंकि just think of it, its power of इनोवेशन साइकिल. इसका जो इनोवेशन साइकिल होगा वो कितने इंफॉर्मेशन को, कितने पॉसिबिलिटीज को, कितने अल्टरनेटिव्स को एक्सप्लोर करके वो सेकंड में आइडियाज जनरेट कर सकता है. यू एंड मी कैन नॉट डू इट. You cannot do it. So if you look at by the way, if you look at that the science has done something extraordinary, then obviously now we should be free, because we have created a panacea, our final invention. But at the same time, the world is raising the concern, right from Bill Gates to the Elon Musk to James Barat to, you can say, the Putin, time and again said that we are calling a demon. We are calling a demon. Now also you will find that even the algo writers, developers, they need to understand the philosophy, so much that they can write algorithm or can create a model or learning model for the AI, where AI can understand what is good and what is bad. Bad. This is why philosophy. This is why philosophy. Because when say philosophy is the foundation of the critical thinking, science cannot solve every problem. Science cannot solve a problem. There are several examples. I am giving you the one example, very contemporary example of the AI, because these days everyone is talking about AI, and all. Fine. Look at some you can say this. Then the next aspect, when we say that philosophy is the foundation of critical thinking, then another aspect after the science, we can think of the business world also. When we say business world, we are living in a, you can say, not in a market economy, rather in a market society. Market society, everywhere is a market. We are living in a world of 80 trillion economy, approximately. America 18, China some 12, India 2.5 to 3. Fine. Forget about this COVID and all. In general, I'm talking about. And if you look at the top MNCs, you will find some 150 MNCs approximately controls more than 50% of the world economy, and that is more than 40 trillion world economy. So MNCs or the corporations are the major stakeholder in the world economy. They are the major stakeholder. So now the point is here, when we talk about the business world, now the question is that if it is not governed well, then what will happen? If the corporations and the MNCs are the major stakeholder in the world economy, then the obvious question arises that if it is not governed well, then what will happen? And that's why you will find that this critical thinking gives you the idea of conscious capitalism. Conscious capitalism. This is a philosophy which tries to help you to see, tries to bring the problem on the table, and also gives you the direction to see it. See it. This is how you have to see the philosophers. This is how you have to see the thinkers. See the thinkers. It's not just about you can say some or other name. For example, if you look at the Gandhi, now you will find the Gandhi's two teachings are very important here in this context. One is trusteeship and another is doctrine of limit. Doctrine of limits, which basically tries to convey that how do we see the world in terms of consumerism, needs, greeds, etc., etc. So come back to the point, conscious capitalism. Now, conscious capitalism is more about capitalism which tries to talk about the stakeholders rather than the shareholders. Shareholders. It talks about the conscious work culture. It talks about the conscious leadership. It talks about the stakeholders in terms of the society, nature, etc. So much that a business model can be a sustainable business model. Sustainable business model. But the question is, how do we raise these questions? From where we get the ideas like conscious capitalism, sustainable development, etc. This is what the philosophy is all about. It tries to help you to see the things very critically first. Then it gives you the direction for the solution. Then it gives you the direction for the solution, where it tries to help you to see the things in the possibilities, alternatives, rather than just one solution. And that's why you will find there is hardly agreement and disagreement among the philosophers and thinkers. If you read the moral theories, you will find that no moral theory is complete in itself. No moral theory is complete in itself. Because some or other moral theories have some limitations. It has to be. Whether you talk about utilitarianism, whether you talk about common good, whether you talk about egoism, whether you talk about virtue theory, virtue ethics, even there you will find some or other limitations and criticism. But then the beauty of the philosophy is that all the theory exists at the same time and it helps to solve some or other problems. That's what the philosophy is. And that's how you have to see the thinkers. See the thinkers. What utilitarian proposes, deontologist, deontology, completely disagree. But the beauty is that utilitarianism also exists and it has its own purpose. And deontology also exists and it has its own purpose. So you can say that one theory which talks about the utility also exists and it has a very important, it's very important. And then the one theory which talks about the duty ethics also exists and it's also important. Sometimes it may work as a complementary and supplementary, but not always. Not always. Not always. And so in the business world, if it is not, you can say, guided by the philosophy, not guided by the philosophy, then world would be a completely chaotic place. And this is how we are moving in that direction. We are talking about the you can say, sustainable development. We are talking about green technology, green world, etc. But where is the solution? You are not finding the solution because there is a paradox. There is a paradox. At one side, it's economic development. Another side is this sustainable development. One says consume more, one says consume less. So there is a paradox. This is a paradox. How much we discuss, either in the G20 or the Paris Earth Summit or the Montreal or Rio or whatever it is. We cannot solve the problem until unless business will try to see its operation, its work, its domain from the work from the philosophy of the conscious leadership. And it's not about greenwashing. It's basically about how business world try to execute or brings the whole idea into the execution on the ground. Then probably we would be in a position to solve certain issues of very, very, you can say, contemporary and immediate. Very interestingly, if you look at that even after this you can say thousand years, the ancient philosophers continue to influence humanity. And this is why you need to read the thinkers and the philosophers. Thinkers and philosophers. For example, if you look at Plato, often when we talk about the Plato, we talk about the Republic and we talk in terms of the politics and governance. But Plato talks a lot about the society, how we need to organize ourselves. For example, in the Republic, Plato raises the question that who should be our heroes? Because it's important. It's important for a society, for every society, because it depicts, it manifests, it's a showcase a society's values. Plato talks about the education, and that time Plato talks about the critical thinking and all. Today we are talking about the NPA and all. But Plato says that merely ABCD and mathematics will not serve the purpose. ABCD in the sense language and understanding the language, it's very important. But what larger purpose it will serve, that's bigger question. And that time he raises a question like this. He talks about the parenting. In the same book, he talks about the parenting also. That the parenting is important. If the childhood is not taken care of, then probably we lose everything in the society. And similarly, you will talk about the various thinkers, philosophers, etc., who talks about the humanity, who talks about the issues, who talks about the problem, who talks about the alternatives, possibilities, etc., which continued, you can say, influences humanity. Continuously, humanity influences the humanity. And this is how leaders are born and made. This is how leaders are born and made. And the last point is basically that when it says uh, moral philosophy, moral philosophy helps us to see the world in the new ways. In the new ways. Fine. It gives the possibility of thinking about the world in a new way. Uh, there are several examples of it. Today, we are talking about, you can say, the equality. Today, we are talking about gender. Today, we are talking about justice. Fine. Today, we are talking about the relationship. Today, we are talking about the quality of life in different things, different way. So, this is the moral philosophy that helps us to see the world in a new ways. It always helps us to reinvent and continuously reinvent ourselves. The way we look at the world, the way we see the world, the various issues in and around us. So the point is here, but that when you talk about, you can say, the moral thinkers philosophy in the realm of this examination, the domain of this examination, then this examination largely will find the questions are very much in the form of the statements. This statement carries certain essence, certain meaning, certain relevance. You have to understand this meaning and its relevance. Its relevance. This is what the motto of this session is. As far as the answer writing is concerned, we'll do it differently. We do it differently. Also, as far as thinkers, etc., and leadership is concerned, we'll do, you can say, the different session. But here, where the sole motto of this session is basically that when we see, when we say, when we talk about the moral thinkers, moral philosophy, then the question is why? The first question is why. Unless we understand briefly about this why, we cannot understand the other things. We cannot understand the other things. This is why moral philosophy, and this is what about this session. Thank you very much. Thank you.